Am I live? It's normal. What's happening here? Come on. Hey, good evening all. Please welcome tonight's I'mPossible conversation. The conversation where ordinary people share their extraordinary stories. Tonight my guest is Cate Walter, and she's one of the amazing women I've met in a not very long time ago. She is she's a mom of 2 daughters and a wife, of course, and she's one of the she's a where is it? She's the director of Raw Business Coaching and Rhino Safety. She's wait, I'm going to invite her. And she's one of the top 100 women of F entrepreneur. And tonight she's joining me on I'mPossible conversation, and we'll talk about this. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi, you all right?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. See you?
Good, good, good. I just didn't know what's happened here because I was typing lots of different things, and then it just low connection, and I just suddenly went live, and I was just like, oh, panic. But here we are.
Here we are, it's fine.
Yeah. So how have you been?
Yes, good, thank you. Good. It's been
Good.
half term here, so the children have been off school. So it's been a busy week, but no, all good, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I've just done a very small introduction about you. Would you like to introduce like a bit more? Because I mentioned that your 2 businesses, and I've mentioned about the F Entrepreneur Top 100 Women.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's right. I have 2 businesses with my husband Simon. We are 50-50 directors with both businesses. One is Rhino Safety Limited, and that is a health and safety management consultancy. So we go into other companies and look after their health and safety requirements for them. And then our most recent business, which we started in August 2018, is Raw Business Coaching. And that is, the core element of that business is running mastermind groups. So business owners get together once a month and take part in the mastermind. We also do a bit of one-to-one coaching. I tend to work predominantly with female business owners, and very often they are female business owners who have lots of other things going on as well. So like myself, they may also be parents. They may have more than one business. They may have lots of other things going on, like volunteering for charities. I'm a school governor at my youngest daughter's primary school, so they're the kind of women that I tend to work with, but women who are juggling and spinning lots of plates.
What is it, darling? Yeah, sorry, my son's.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay. Good night. Oh. Yeah, it was just like at that time. Wanda, could you close the door, please? Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned about you being a school governor.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think, personally, what we need to teach for people that is not in a curriculum yet?
Oh, I could go on about this all night. To be honest with you, I think that the primary school curriculum, as it currently stands, could do with a bit of an overhaul. I think that teachers are doing amazing jobs, and head teachers doing amazing jobs of trying to fit in teaching our children life skills around the requirements of the subjects on the curriculum. But I actually think that the curriculum should be balanced more towards the life skills, and more towards kind of, you know, things like financial management, just different things than, you know, the Tudors. And don't get me wrong, I love history, and you know, the Tudors is a great subject, but I think we need to be gearing our children up more for life in the world as we know it. And I think that there are lots of other things that could be brought to our curriculum other than what's currently on there.
Yeah, so like bring more life skills rather than a theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think our education system very much teaches our children to go through school, get certain qualifications, go to higher education, further education, and then become employed. And I think we need to be teaching them more about the different options out there, about what self-employment can look like, what being business owners and entrepreneurs can look like, those sorts of things, so that we give them all different options, really, because not all children are set for the path of employment, you know. But I think it takes some people far too long to get to their business journey, because education kind of sets them on the path to paid employment first. So yeah.
All right, cool. So because you got 2 daughters, don't you?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're all self-employed. Are you doing anything like specific for your children to, what's your aspiration for your children to become when they get older?
I just want, I think it's very cheesy, I just want them to be happy with whatever it is that they do.
Yeah,
They are both, they're both very different girls. And I think one has already spoken about, she absolutely adores animals, our youngest. So she's already talked about having her own business as a kind of a dog groomer and boarder and things like that. Whereas our eldest, I think, tends to look more towards paid employment. So she's very much into design, and she loves fashion and things like that. So but I think me and my husband are already modeling that for them, the fact that they can choose other paths other than paid employment. They can choose to go into self-employment if they want to. So I think just us doing what we do helps them to see that there are other things out there other than what's necessarily taught at school.
Yeah, exactly. And so they still got their subjects that they're interested. And then you talked about that your daughters want to become the dog groomer and stuff.
Yes.
So you got dogs as well?
Yes, we have. We've got 2 dogs. To be fair, she has always loved all animals. I remember when she was very tiny, we took her to Chester Zoo, and she asked if she could stroke the lions. So yeah, she's always loved all animals. Yeah. But yeah, we've got 2 rescue dogs. They were actually street dogs from Cyprus. So they keep us busy as well.
From Cyprus, did you just say?
Yeah, they were street dogs.
So how does it happen? So did you bring them with you?
No, we didn't. There is a charity in Cyprus who specialise in rescuing dogs from the street, and then there is a charity based just outside Manchester who liaise with the charity in Cyprus, and they bring them across already vaccinated and house trained and everything, and we adopted them from the charity in Manchester.
All right, sounds amazing. And also, because that's quite a good thing to do, very kind. And then I've just noticed that your business won Startup Business of the Year a couple of times, and contribution to the community twice as well.
Yes.
Tell us
That's
more
something
about that, please.
We're really proud of. I think we've won 5 awards with Rhino Safety in total now, and we started the business in June 2015. But the contribution to the community awards are the ones that we are probably the proudest of, because they are all to do with how we try and give back. And right from when we very first started our business, we were determined. We had a lot of support from our local community, local business community.
Yeah.
And we always had in mind that we wanted to be able to give back however we could. But obviously, as a small startup business, it was just the two of us, literally working from our dining room table to start off with. You know, there isn't a huge amount of cash available. So we were very conscious that we couldn't necessarily give, you know, massive cash donations to local charities. That wasn't going to be possible for us. So we actually came across an organisation called Cheshire Connect. And they are a local organisation who partner up businesses with third sector organisations, so charities, not-for-profits, community interest companies. They partner them up to create skill shares. So we had put our names forward to say that we would be willing to help with health and safety support, and we were partnered up with a charity quite quickly. We gave health and safety documentation and some support in actually implementing it. And it didn't take us very long at all. So we immediately went back to Cheshire Connect and said, look, we think we could do this like on a permanent basis, basically. And so support for one organisation every month. And that's what we did. So we've been offering free health and safety documentation and support to local third sector organisations for will be over 2 years now, and we've calculated it at the moment. I think it stands at around £60,000 worth of skills that we've supplied for free, our skills and expertise and documentation. But for us, it's easier to do that than handing over cash. And for those organisations, they actually say it's more valuable to them than necessarily financial donations, because it's the sort of support that you actually can't buy. They wouldn't have access to our services in any other way. So that's been really important to us. And then alongside that, as we've grown the business, we've started to contribute in other ways as well. So we have certain local charities that we support on a regular basis with financial donations. And so it's just kind of all stemmed from there, really. So
So how do you choose your charities?
To be honest with you, there is absolutely nothing scientific about it. It just tends to be people who resonate with us or any of our team as well. So we've got a team of 7 now. So if they have something going on that they would like us to support them, then we just take it at that, really. So there's no kind of hard or fast rule to it. We just, when things kind of take our eye, or they're things that mean something personally to us, then we'll support.
Oh, sounds wonderful. And I was like thinking about your businesses, and then the name Rhino.
Yes.
Where did it come from? And then your raw business coaching, is there any relation between Rhino and raw business coaching?
No, there's not.
It's different.
It is, yeah. I mean, the raw one is actually a little bit easier to explain. I think because they're both kind of animal based, because it's raw as in a lion's raw, not raw like a raw vegetable. But we liked the fact that could be heard and interpreted both ways. So that was kind of, that one literally was just an idea that I think Simon came up with it, and we both kind of went, oh yeah, I like the sound of that. So that one, there isn't really any story behind it. With Rhino, when we first started setting our business up, probably one of the things we struggled with the most was coming up with a name, because health and safety is seen as quite boring. It's seen as quite a dry subject. So a lot of the names we were coming up with were really quite boring. So we had like Signature Safety and Shield Safety, but a lot of them were already taken as well. So we wanted something that we knew we could get the domain name for, and that we could register it as a .co.uk and things like that. And my husband is actually a rugby league fan, and he supports Leeds Rhinos. So he had
Oh.
several times he had jokingly said Rhino Safety, and I was going, no, no way, there's no way we're naming the company after the rugby team.
Uh-huh.
And then the guy that was doing our website kind of sort of was getting in touch with us and saying, look guys, I really need a name. So I think we sent him a list of 4 or 5 names, and Simon
Mm-hmm.
again jokingly put Rhino Safety on the list, and he just turned around and went, yep, that's the one, it's perfect, really strong branding,
Uh-huh.
you know, it sounds strong, it's different for health and safety. So yeah, that's how we ended up with
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah. And and tell 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 us about your company values.
Our company values. Okay, so we have our company values. I'm not going to be able to remember them word for word now, but we have our company values emblazoned on our office wall, so that everyone
Uh-huh.
can see them. And it's our culture and values are all about how we want to behave,
Mm-hmm.
and how we want the people that we work with to behave.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we talk about we don't have a blame culture. We hold ourselves accountable. We are solution focused. We don't look for problems. We look for solutions. Um,
Yeah.
and the one that everyone always remembers, because it kind of hits you in the face a little bit, especially when it's in huge letters on the wall, is that we don't work with dicks, which
Yeah.
a lot of people quite often go, huh, because they don't really expect you to say things like that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is actually the one that, right from, again, from when Simon and I very first started the business, our kind of key point that we kept coming back to, was that
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to be happy. That was why we started our
Yeah.
business. We wanted to
Mm-hmm.
create our own happiness. And
Yeah.
as part of that, from the very beginning, we just said, we're not going to work with people who don't make us happy. And that's kind of stuck. So it is absolutely a core value, and all of the team know it, and we put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we hold ourselves to that same standard as well. So it's not just a case of, we don't work with other people who are dicks, it's that we won't be dicks either.
Yes. So how would you know, like when person approaches you, how do you
um,
know?
I think because our approach to health and safety is quite different, to what most people expect. We're very positive and
Uh-huh.
proactive about health and safety. We don't do the kind of tying people up in red tape and trying to make things difficult for them. So we tend to find that we can tell very early on, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not people are going to respond in the same way to our approach. So yeah, we're quite good at sussing it out. Sometimes you get it
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
everyone,
yeah, of course.
everyone puts on their kind of exterior show, don't they, for a while? And sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can be working with someone for a while, and then you go, oh, hang on a minute, they're starting to show their true colours. But no, for the most part, I think we're pretty good judges of character.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So, like, I got like few um colors here. It's like tequila sunset, fruit salad, and denim blue. What are
Yes.
they?
they're they're all colours that I've had my hair. So this current one, this is
Oh,
tequila sunrise at the moment.
uh-huh.
So yes, the last one was fruit salad, and
Mm-hmm.
I think denim blue was actually the one before that. So yes, they're all colours that my hair has been in the last 5 months.
So, do you actually, is that like actually like names of them color mixtures, or
No,
is
they're
it
just
you made them up?
my hairdresser. She's amazing. So
Ah,
we tend to, when she's creating these concoctions, we tend to sit there together and come up with the name together.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Tell us the story of your hair. Why? What made you to do that? Or is it just like you are a very adventurous person and
I don't
what?
I don't consider
Mm-hmm,
myself to be that adventurous. No. I think, to be honest with you, I grew up with very, very long brown hair, and my mum was always very adamant that I was going to keep my hair long,
mm-hmm,
and I think really I just, for a very long time, I was very conscious, not just of my mum's opinions, of everyone else's opinions around me.
Mm-hmm.
The way I would present myself, I would always be thinking about other people instead of thinking about what truly made me happy. And when we started our business, our first business together, we,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, we were very focused on doing what made us happy. And I started to realize that I'd kind of been, I guess, repressing a side of myself that I'd always known was there. Alongside the hair, I now have a lot of tattoos, and that was part of it as well. I'd had a few tattoos when I was sort of in my late teens and early 20s, but always fairly small ones that I could keep covered up. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so when we started our business, I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to be true to myself. So yeah, the hair is an extension of that. I very much take the view. I mean, tattoos are obviously far more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
But with my hair, I just think it's just hair. You know, it grows. If I don't
Yeah.
like it, I can change it very, very quickly. And I
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that it makes me stand out from the crowd. It's something that's instantly noticeable, and it's always something to talk about. You know, I tend to do a lot of networking for our business, and
Mm-hmm.
it's always an icebreaker for people. You know, I think everybody's been to those networking events where people stand around feeling really awkward and making small talk about the weather. So when I'm there, people talk about my hair instead. It's quite handy, but
Yeah.
it's just, I guess it's just me expressing that side of my personality. I don't consider it to be adventurous, although I
Mm-hmm.
know most people's reaction to it when they first see me is, "Oh, you're so brave," and I think, well, there's nothing brave about this at all. It is literally
Mm-hmm.
just hair. I could dye it brown tomorrow, and no one would ever know it ever looked like this. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it makes me happy. It makes me smile. You know, you wake up in the morning, if you're feeling a bit rubbish or you've not slept very well, I look in the mirror and it just makes me smile straight away.
Mm-hmm. Is it, and would that make you more confident?
I actually don't think it does. I think there is an element of this that is actually, it's something for me to hide behind a little bit, because when I'm not feeling confident, the fact that it is something that people can talk to me about kind of gives me that bit of a boost. So I actually think it's the other way around. I think the hair makes me kind of more confident in certain situations that I wouldn't always be. I think some people think I must be confident to have the hair, and I think it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I loved that denim blue and like this
Yes.
tequila it's a sunset, sunrise, isn't it?
Tequila. Yes, yes.
Tequila sunrise, yeah. And what's the next?
I don't know. I never know. Everyone always says to me, "What are you going to have next?" And I never know what I'm going to have. I literally turn up at the hairdresser's and ask her what
Uh-huh.
she fancies doing. She really likes that I'm very relaxed and open about it because she gets to try
Mm-hmm.
lots of different things on me. And she knows that
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind if it doesn't work out exactly as we planned. It doesn't matter because I never had a plan in my head in the first place. So
Mm-hmm.
I do tend to kind of scroll through Instagram quite a lot and take some inspiration from there. So if I see ones that I particularly like, I'll save them and show them to her. But no, it
Mm-hmm.
tends to just be a walk in on the day and go, right, what should we do today?
Uh-huh. Is there many people who has a similar like hair colors or they are adventurous on like doing their hairs in different colors? Because it's when you
Um,
say you scroll for Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, I think there are more people having colours like this these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be fair, on Instagram they all tend to be a lot younger than I am, which is a little bit depressing. But no, I think I think there are more people going for this sort of thing now. It's it, it's just, I think it's one of those things that in 10 years from now it will be very normal for people to have abnormally coloured hair. But I think we're going towards that now. Yeah, it's both of my daughters are kind of blonde or very light brown. So I
Mm-hmm.
think as soon as they're out of school, I think they'll be trying to do this sort of thing as well because they both love it. So
Yeah, because it is lovely because it just like brightens the day.
Yes, yeah, it
Definitely,
does.
yes,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
the day that I had this done, it was absolutely throwing it down all day. The weather was absolutely miserable, but I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't care because it was so bright and shiny. It was just, yeah, it made me feel good.
Yeah, because what I think is, sometimes when you see things and then you just can't be angry or like
Yes,
not happy, but like your hair's got that effect. This like
yeah,
really happy, nice color. Yeah.
yeah. I do get a lot of people when I just kind of walk down the street. People do just smile when they look at it. I don't think people can help themselves. Some people, stare a bit, but it's yeah, it does put a smile on a lot of people's faces. Like you say, I think you can't help it
Yeah.
really.
Hmm. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking. So basically, because I am possible conversation, that is
Yes.
about your life stories. And I've been scrolling down on your Facebook, and you've been with your husband for 22 years, or maybe even longer. Tell
Yeah,
us how
yeah.
you met.
Oh no. It makes me cringe because whenever we say how we met, people go, "Oh, that's so sweet," and it just didn't feel like that. It was we went to the same school.
Uh-huh.
I had moved from Kent up to Cheshire when I was, I think, 13 or 14, and joined the school that he was in. Um, he was the year above me at school. I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was for the first kind of 10 months that I was there. And then we
Mm-hmm.
both went on a school exchange trip to Germany. And his exchange partner happened to be best friends with my exchange partner. So on the first night there, we met, and
Mm-hmm.
that was it. We've been together ever since. So,
Wow, like
yeah.
you all so very, very long time. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
was 15 and he was 16, so it will be yeah, 22 and a half years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. So, because I can feel that your positivity and your drive and your passion, everything. And but people say like you are average of who you surrounded yourself with.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree with that. And I have definitely I would say in the past 5 years particularly, I think that's probably when that really started to resonate for me. And there are people that I have deliberately moved away from in my life
Mm-hmm.
because for that very reason, because I didn't feel that their kind of energy or their goals or outlook on life, whatever you want to call it, mindset, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
didn't really align with mine and what me and Simon are trying to achieve. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's definitely a difficult process to do that, but I think it's necessary. And I think Simon and I are very lucky that as young as we were when we got together, we always knew that we were kind of, I don't know, on the same path, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We Although we were, like I say, we were 15 and 16 when we got together. We'd told everyone by the end of that school trip that we were going to end up getting married and having children, which
Mm-hmm.
I think my mother-in-law would be horrified if she knew we'd had that conversation that young. Um, but we were very sure of ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not all been sunshine and roses. We've had some really, really tough times,
Mm-hmm.
times that I wouldn't wish on anyone else. But we've always gone through those times together. We've always been, like I say, just on the same path. And I feel very fortunate that that is the case, because I do know of people who've been together for a long time but have grown apart or have had different values, or there has been some sort of disconnect that has ultimately led to their separation. But
Mm-hmm.
we're, like I say, I feel very fortunate that that hasn't happened for us yet.
Mm-hmm.
We've maintained the same course, so that's been
Mm-hmm.
really important to us, but it continues to be important to us. So even now, with the team that we've taken on around us, with the business coaches that we use, people like Jamie
Mm-hmm.
Keeling, who I know you know, having those sorts of people around us really helps us to carry on when things
Mm-hmm.
do get difficult, because they do. And being married as well as business partners, if one of us has had a tough time with the kids, so is the other one. If one of us has had a bad day at work, so is the other one. So we do have to be very
Exactly.
careful,
Mm-hmm.
to keep that positivity going. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always possible,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, of course. So, like when I've asked you what's your favorite quote, you said, "Trust who we are, nothing else matters."
yeah, it's lyrics from Metallica.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a metalhead at heart.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's the quote is forever trusting who we are and nothing else matters. And I
Yeah.
think I actually have that tattooed on me.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's the one I think that's the one thing that has always stuck with me. We started our business out of a very traumatic kind of incident, because previous to us starting our business, we were both we were both partners in my parents' business, and that
Mm-hmm.
working relationship broke down in a very kind of traumatic fashion. It
Mm-hmm.
was in no way amicable. It was a really significant period of our time together, and it's one of the worst times in my life that I've experienced. But again, we just kept coming back to being very sure of ourselves, and that we were doing the right things for the right reasons when we decided to leave that business and start up on our own. And having always loved Metallica, and in particular that song "Nothing Else Matters," I remember hearing it not long after we'd made the decision to leave my parents' business and start up on our own. And just those particular lyrics, forever trusting who we are and nothing else matters, really resonated for me, because I thought, well, yeah, I do. I need to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
I need to trust us, and
Yeah.
other people aren't going to like it, and other people are going to judge, but none of that matters, because we trust in ourselves and what we're doing. So yeah, that one absolutely sticks with me. That's I just think it's the good words to live your life by, trusting yourself and not worrying about what anyone else thinks. That's what it comes down to, I think.
Yeah, because that just brings me like into question, because when you are a small business owner and you're doing it for your customers, then people tend to build a branding, and then they need to understand their customers and trying to please them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
in that way, they may even lose themselves at the
Yeah.
beginning. And then also, maybe they just wait for some customers like them, but that probably will take longer,
Yeah.
and their business need to survive.
Yes.
How, what would you say, like the balance and things like that?
I think I do think you're right. You do, as I think as any business owner, particularly for us because we're in the professional services industry, you are always very conscious of making sure that your clients are happy. But again, I think it comes down to us trusting in the level of service that we provide. We are very
Mm-hmm.
sure of how we provide that service, the way that our team are doing that. So again, having that trust in that means that our client retention rate is fantastic. And I think if you remain authentic, then people will respond to that. People do gravitate towards it. And you might not be everybody's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. You know, there's, when you look at the number, there's something like 6 million small businesses in the country, and you think there's enough out there for everyone. And I think if you're authentic and true to yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
you trust that you are trying to serve people in the very best way you possibly can, then
Mm-hmm.
you will reap the rewards. You do have to have a certain amount of patience, which is something my husband struggles terribly with. He wants everything yesterday. But I think you know, as long as you stay on that path where,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, you're serving everyone the way that you want to, the way that works for
Yeah.
you, and in the best way possible, then I think, you know, ultimately you're not going to go far wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I always think, how can you can like especially like small businesses, how can they balance? Because they need money to survive, and then it's just they need to keep their authenticity and identity, what the brand stand for, and everything.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing with that is, well, for us, it's been through networking. We were very fortunate that very early on in our business, we won our first award. So we won the Startup of the Year award when the business was only 5 months old. And that gave us a
Mm-hmm.
lot of exposure very early on, a lot of PR. And because I was already getting myself out there on the networking circuit locally, it meant that people knew us and knew what we were about very, very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
word got around. And, you know, even now, I would say, you know, 85–90% of our business comes from word of mouth referrals and recommendations. And that's because people totally we've stayed true to ourselves, we've stayed true to our brand,
Mm-hmm.
and we've not compromised ourselves in any way, and people know that. So there is, you know, people talk in networking about the phrase know, like, and trust, and that's what you do when you put yourself out there. A lot of people don't like talking about personal branding when they're talking about business, because they think personal branding is somehow about you as an individual. But I think
Mm-hmm.
personal branding applies to the business as well, because you, when you're a small business in those early stages, you are your business.
Yes.
So I think if you're putting that out there in the right way, in the authentic way,
Mm-hmm.
then people learn that very quickly, and they will pass that around.
Yeah.
So
Because
yeah.
it's yes, especially small business. Because you're saying now you got 7 staff,
Yep.
but the small businesses, like I got a business, I am a director, and who else have you got? It's just me,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like usually it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So.
that's how we were to start with. We, you know, for the
Mm-hmm.
first, we didn't take anyone on for, it was 18 months before we took our first employee on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've grown since there. But yeah, I mean, when you are the only person in your business, you're wearing every
Yeah.
hat. You know, yes, you can be
Yes.
the
Exactly.
director and it can be a limited company, but you're also, you know, the person who makes the drinks, who answers the telephone, who sends the emails, who opens the
Mm-hmm.
post. You know, you're literally doing everything. So I think that's when it's really important, probably more important, to make sure that you are comfortable with how you're representing yourself and your business, because
Mm-hmm.
you can't hide from that when you're the only person. You can't, you know, maintain a facade all the while that you're interacting with people. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah. And then that just brings me into that work-life balance. And I've just seen your recent the mastermind group for women, and
Yes.
how many plates you're spinning.
Yes.
Yeah. And because you brought it for women,
Yes.
and then I would say, like, because you both are partners, like in your household, you both were doing exactly the same thing?
Um,
Or would you say you were spinning more?
no, I don't. No, I don't think I'm spinning more plates. I'm spinning
Uh-huh.
different plates. I'm definitely
Yeah.
spinning more. Sorry, spinning more. Freudian slip. I'm definitely spinning different plates. I think, to be honest with you, Simon carries more of the business plates, and I
Yeah.
carry more of the kind of life plates.
Mm-hmm.
That's more, that's not really by design, it's more by default, in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
Simon has the technical expertise in our business that means that
Right, I
there
see.
are certain elements that he has to take on that I just can't be involved with. And
Mm-hmm.
so, there are times when he needs to be out on sites with clients,
Mm-hmm.
which means that inevitably I am therefore the person doing the majority of, school drop-offs and
The
pickups.
other stuff, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just generally, I think with women, the reason that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do the female mastermind is because I think women um, do tend to be spinning lots of plates, regardless of whether or not they're parents.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a mum thing. I think it's a female thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of things, I know certainly in my brain, there are things going on that, Simon would never have a clue about. I'm thinking about, when the dogs next need to have their vaccinations and when the next dentist checkups for us all are. And,
Yeah.
when I've got to schedule certain things to be done around the house, and all
Yeah.
these sorts of things that on a day-to-day basis are going on in my head. But I also think that women add in a lot of stuff that men just don't seem to, and I am being very, very generalistic here, but
Mm-hmm.
I think women tend to be thinking more about how other people are perceiving them, how other people are judging them.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be thinking more about, are they spending enough time with their family? Are they spending enough time with their friends? Are they spending enough time in their business? We've
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all had those conversations around, I feel guilty when I'm working because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
spending enough time with my family, but then when I'm with my family, I'm feeling guilty that I'm not doing enough in my business. So I do think that business women are particularly hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I do also think that the current mastermind that we run is mixed. And
Mm-hmm.
I do definitely think that there are subjects that our female members don't want to bring up in that forum because they feel that the men in the room just won't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whether that's right or wrong, that's just the way it is. So I felt
Yeah.
that having a female only mastermind would allow women to open up in ways that they might not necessarily be able to do in a mixed environment. And
Mm-hmm.
also,
Yeah.
I'm just generally all for women supporting each other and empowering each other. And I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of women who kind of diminish their own light um, because they don't know how to kind of let it shine at its brightest. And I think getting women together in one room is a really great way of kind of enabling each other to really go for it and be authentic and true to themselves.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. But then, Kate, I think like honestly, I do think the women are more powerful than men.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
And
I would agree, but I'm trying to be diplomatic. No, I do I do think women don't realise their own power. I really do.
yeah.
Because there are women out there making incredible things happen. The Entrepreneur campaign that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
that I was so honoured to be part of, was all about those women who are using their power in incredible ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very humbled to be even mentioned in the same breath as some of the women on there who I felt are doing things far more kind of powerful and meaningful than what I do. But that's the thing. Everyone was saying the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I do think women are very good at doing themselves down. I was sort of stood there going, oh, I can't believe I'm with you. You're doing such incredible things. And then people were saying the same to me. I think it's just ingrained into women in some ways. It's like the whole not being able to accept a compliment thing. I
Mm-hmm.
was talking about this, I think, to Jamie actually the other day, about the fact that women will say to another woman, oh, I really love your coat or, you know, an item of clothing, and she'll be like, oh, this old thing, it was only, you know, £5 from wherever. And you kind of
Yeah.
go, just I think women find it so hard to accept, not just compliments, but accept the credibility, and acknowledge their own power and achievements.
Okay. Because, yeah, that's interesting. Because, yeah, maybe that's why online there are lots of like women's forum, women's empowerment group, female only, like women's power, and it's just so many women related stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it just feels like it's confirming or accepting, like as a woman we are not powerful, therefore we need to unite to do something. But
Yep.
personally I would like to, like, why men don't do things like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well,
If you know what I mean, like it's a men's empowerment group, like
yeah.
men's only, like this, there is like nothing stopping them.
No, and I think that's a really good point. I'm sure there probably are men, and well, maybe there are men only groups out there. I'm not sure. I very much doubt that there is anywhere near as many. If they do exist, there won't be as many at all. And I think that's because men tend to just be more sure of themselves, and tend to be more accepting of the fact that if they want to do something, that they can go out there and do it, because historically there's been nothing to stop them. And there are times when I do think it's the same with
That's a very
networking.
good
There's
point. Yeah.
yeah,
Like historically, there was nothing to stop them.
no, well, there is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There wasn't. That's the whole point of
Yeah.
the whole suffragette movement and everything.
Yeah.
We're in a much more fortunate position now than obviously Emmeline Pankhurst and co were 100 years ago. But we've still got a long way to go. There is still that ingrained thing in the women's psyche to say,
Yeah.
you know, you've really got to fight for this. You've got to fight to be heard. You've got to fight to be to have your position acknowledged. And there are occasions. I've talked about there are female only networking groups, and I really wish that they didn't exist, or that they didn't have to exist. But the fact is, there are women who feel that their voice isn't heard in mixed networking groups, and I'm quite comfortable networking. It's never been something that particularly bothers me, but I have been in networking situations where I have been talked down to, I've been talked over. I very early on in our business, I was talking to a man in the networking group who asked me what it felt like to work for my husband. Well, you know, I don't work for my husband, I work with my husband. And as far as I'm aware, Simon's never been asked what it feels like to work for his wife. He's been asked what it's like to work with his wife, but that tiny distinction in semantics makes all the difference. So as much as I wish that female-only groups weren't necessary, I think they still are. And you know, my husband will sometimes joke about, oh, you know, it's female only is sexist. You know, if there was a men only thing, there would be an outcry. But the fact of the matter is, there are groups out there that are male only by default, not by design, but by default. And I think that's really important as well. There are networking groups and coaching groups out there where no women are involved simply because it feels inaccessible to them. So they become male only by default rather than by design. So, you know, I feel very strongly that I guess, like you say, women shouldn't have to feel like they have to come together to be powerful, but I think you need to bring them together to convince each other of their power, to then allow them to go out there and use it by themselves.
Wow. That's fantastic, right? And so, because we've talked about your career and we've talked about your business, And have you met your husband? And we've just talked about
Yeah.
the woman, man. So if we remove all the titles from your name,
Yeah.
like the direct, who is Cate?
I
Do you
think
like?
yeah,
Mhm,
I think I'm still figuring myself out. Who I am today at this point in my life, I'm someone who is working on myself. Um,
mhm,
I'm in a much better place now than I was 5 years ago. Um,
mhm,
but I still feel like I've got a long way to go. I am a massive, massive proponent and advocate for lifelong learning. So I
mhm,
don't think I will ever feel necessarily like a finished product. I hope I don't ever feel like a finished product.
mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
like the word finished anyway. But I am someone who I guess if I was thinking about how I would want to be described, I'm someone who is very open. And
Mhm,
I mean that in terms of I'm very open with myself in that
mhm,
I don't tend to close myself off. I'm quite happy to let everyone know who I am and express myself, but I'm also very open
mhm,
to other people and other ideas. So um, I tend to be able to look at both sides of any argument, which can make
mhm,
decision making really difficult. So I'm quite
mhm,
indecisive at times because
mhm,
I do tend to be able to see all sides of things. I'm quite diplomatic. I'm passionate. I am just trying harder to be the best version of myself every day, I guess. And some days
mhm.
that works, and some days I go to bed thinking, well, tomorrow's a new day. It doesn't always
Exactly.
go to plan.
Mhm. And you've got that mindset, don't you? Because like you've read that book called You're a Badass,
Yes, I love that
and
book.
then yeah, because I've never come across with that book. I
Jen
probably have to
Sincero.
read it now. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you jumped from a cliff, or well, what did you do after reading that book?
Yeah, so it's not even it's such a small
It's
thing. I
it's
jumped
not
off
a
a
small
pier.
thing.
I mean, it was. Again, I'm not an adventurous person. I'm really not.
Mhm,
So I read the book "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero when we were on holiday in Turkey this summer,
mhm,
and I don't have a fear of heights particularly. I don't mind high things. I do have a bit of a weird thing about edges. So it's like I'm afraid of falling off things essentially.
mhm,
And there was like a jetty pit, like a wooden pier type thing that
mhm,
went out into the sea, quite far out. And there
mhm,
was a drop the from the wooden platform of, I don't know, it was only a couple of meters. It really wasn't that high, but then into obviously
mhm,
quite a deep area of sea.
mhm, mhm,
And so I read that book, and then I literally got up off my sun lounger, and my youngest had been saying to me, I want you to jump off the pier with me. So I was like, right, come on, let's go and do it. And I jumped off the pier, having read that book.
mhm,
And I absolutely credit Jen Sincero for me jumping off, because I know that I wouldn't have done it under any other circumstances. And I was
mhm,
terrified for such a small jump. I was terrified. But um, there was something about that book about just, I guess, just seizing the moment, and again letting go of all the fears and thoughts that kind of get tied up in your head, and just going for it and doing the things that are going to make you happy. And
mhm. How
for
did you feel
that,
afterwards?
oh, it was amazing. And it's very I'm laughing about it now because it seems like such a silly thing, but I think for me the fact was my youngest daughter was proud of me. She
Mhm,
knew that I was scared, and she saw
mhm,
me do it anyway. That was the point.
mhm,
And I want both of my girls to grow up, um, not being afraid to take that leap of faith and know that, okay, you know, it might not always work out the way you thought it was. When I jumped over, I ended up doing like a massive belly flop, and it really hurt, which was not how I'd planned it. You know, I was thinking I was going to have this really graceful jump off the side. No, absolutely slapped into the water and was like, oh, that really hurt. So, but the fact is, I did it, and there was no lasting damage, and I felt good, and I felt good that she felt proud of me, and she'd seen me take control of my fear and just go ahead. So yeah, it was a good moment.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, yeah. If she asked me to, I don't think I would do it out of choice. But it is one of those things where I've always, like, I've never really liked spiders since I was young. And when I had both of my girls, I was really conscious that I didn't want to pass that fear on to them. So I would always try and be, you know, if we saw a spider, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's a spider. So I think it's quite important to me to let them live their own lives and not end up liking things or not liking things or fearing things because I did. I want them to choose their own path. They don't have to like the same things that I do. They don't have to be afraid of the same things that I am. You know, that's quite important to me.
Yeah. Okay, that's very, very good. Yeah. Okay, like I said, because it's I'mPossible conversation, when you look back for how many years you want to, and what was the moment you felt that, do you know what, I did it? I'm just so proud of myself. I am possible.
Yeah, it was 100% when we started our business, because like I say, it was a very traumatic period, and there was a time when I felt that we would never be able to do it, that we would never be able to leave my parents' business and start our own business. So the fact that we did, but not only that, but that we managed to do it, and after a period of time and a period of kind of reflection and conversation, we managed to salvage a personal relationship with my parents and move forwards from that. That has been really key to me, because there are a lot of people who maybe wouldn't have necessarily got through that situation with all of those relationships still intact. So the fact that we did, I'm very proud of. It was, like I say, it was a very, very difficult thing to go through. And one of the, probably in the top two things in my life that have been the hardest thing, it's one of those. But we got through it. And I think probably winning our first award was a moment of, wow, you know, yes, we're doing this, it's working. But then the most recent award that we won was Business of the Year with less than 25 staff. So we went from startup business to Business of the Year in 3 years. And I think that point was probably the one where I was like, yeah, this is it. This is for real. I'm not sure I'd quite believed it up until that point. So, but I don't think we'll ever stop having those moments. It will be our 5-year anniversary next year of the business. And I think that will be, because a lot of businesses don't get to 5 years. So that will be quite an important one as well.
Exactly. And then every year after that as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I hope those moments never do stop. I hope I don't ever stop having those moments where I go, yes, I'm possible. It is happening, you know, because it motivates you as well. It keeps you going.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes, it's been absolutely pleasure to have this conversation with you tonight.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Very much for your time. Yeah, and thanks very much for your time. And I'm sure we will catch up and obviously like meet in person one day.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I'd love to.
Okay, right. Thanks very much for everyone's watching too. And we'll catch up with you later, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.